Manchester City fans around the world, good evening and welcome to Matchday Live as we build up to this UEFA Champions League clash against Bayer Leverkusen. City start the night sitting in fourth in, of course, this, well, not so new Champions League format, but they will be hoping a win today will help strengthen their place and hold in the top 8 of the Champions League. Of course, this game and the second game at home as well will be key in securing a top 8 position. Right, shall I bring you some team news? Let's do it straight away. This is your starting 11, and I can tell you 10 changes from the game at the weekend. James Trafford starts in goal. How good is it to see that man back in a City shirt? Kusanov in defence alongside John Stones. Partnering John Stones, so great to see Nathan Ake come back into the fold. And to complete our back four, Nouri starts at left back. Moving into midfield, we love to see him there, Mr. Rico Lewis alongside Nico Gonzalez, the only player to keep his position from that 2-1 loss at the weekend. Tajani Reinders comes in to complete the midfield three. Moving then to our attacking options, Oscar Bob starts alongside Savinho, came on off the bench against Newcastle. He starts tonight at the Etihad. And Omar Mamouche, I must say, very excited to see this man in the starting 11. That does mean the big man on the bench. So great to be with you, Manchester City fans. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. My name is Kel Spellman, and alongside me, I have none other than Andy and Stephen. Good evening, gents. Andy Morrison, 10 changes from the game at the weekend. Surprised by that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all were when we saw the team. Nico Gonzalez keeping his position. But, look, I think it's a testament to the strength of the squad and the depth of the squad. Yeah. And everybody feeling that, a defeat at the weekend, I'm sure they're all knocking on the door and saying, I want to be playing, I want to be given a chance. And again, an opportunity now to cement, because I'm still not sure what is the best 11. Yeah. And I think tonight gives the players, go on then. Go and prove to me that you should be starting in the next game against Leeds.
And I guess, Stephen, as well, in 18 months of being a Manchester City fan where we've probably not had the luxury of what we've been able to do tonight for a long time, how important is it that we actually have been able to do 10 wholesale changes and the team still looks that strong? I mean, Nouri at left back, John Stones and Kusanov, Marmouche playing down the middle. I mean, I'm really excited for him, but it suddenly feels that squad's there again.
Yeah, you've got to go back to 12 moments where we had loads of academy lads on the bench, people like Simpson Pusey starting, and just a whole plethora of injuries from players who are probably at the end of their City career. And this is exactly what you want. You want to be able to bring in all these talented young players who can challenge the players who were in the starting lineup at the weekend. And I do think what Andy was saying is right. I do think he's sort of sending, not a message as such, but he's challenging these guys to make a claim for the weekend against Leeds. And obviously it was a disappointing result against Newcastle. I think Pep wasn't overly, they're distraught from that result because he understands it's Newcastle. But yeah, this is a chance to see what these players can do, and so many of those right now have something to prove to him in a good way. And yeah, I think it's wonderful that we've got this depth, that we can make 10 changes, which is ridiculous. I never would have saw that in a million years. And it still looked this strong. That's only a positive.
It really is. And I guess as well, we can't forget as well, this is, Pep's 100th game in the Champions League in charge of Manchester City. So we're going to dig into, the individuals that are starting tonight. But I wanted to focus on that because that is an incredible milestone that he reaches tonight, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what amazes me is the energy, and I look at the game at the weekend and we look at the passion after the game. We look at the way he carries himself. Every single game he goes into it with the same mindset. And to have that for the career that he's had, from Barcelona to Bayern and then to Manchester City, to go into your 100th game and still be able to generate that passion and that desire to be the very, very best version of yourself, I find remarkable.
Yes.
It's difficult really to put into words and articulate just what, an incredible manager he is and what he's done for the football club and football in general.
Yes, that's it. I mean, the impact on that, and I think we spoke about that a couple of games ago. Speaking, of course, that it's rippled around the whole of Europe, his type of football. What we've been able to enjoy, Stephen, is 100 games in the Champions League and a lot of goals and fantastic performances in that time. So we wanted to do a little poll this evening. We try and do these on the shows. This is where you can cast your vote and get involved. We want you to choose your favourite Champions League performance under Pep Guardiola. We've given you 4 to choose from. Now, there will be one that comes to a lot of people's minds straight away. I know it did for me, but we're going to begin with this one. This was against Barcelona, 2016, Manchester City 3, Barcelona 1. Even saying that, I still find quite amazing that we're able to do that, Stephen, but this was a great night at the Etihad, kicked off by Kevin De Bruyne.
They were the best side in Europe at that point.
Yeah.
I remember that game vividly. It was just the one with Gundogan brace as well, I think. They were a fantastic side, and they were, peak Messi. I think Suarez and Neymar were in that side as well. Yeah, it was a real statement of intent from Manchester City, and it was Guardiola sort of announcing himself on the European stage with City. Obviously his former club. You saw the potential of what City were about to become under Guardiola. Obviously he didn't quite connect straight away, but that was a special night.
It was indeed. Then we're going to turn to the following year, 2017, Andy. Monaco at home, goals galore. Manchester City 5, Monaco 3. I mean, this is one of those games and nights that had absolutely everything. It made your heart rate go up. It made you angry, it made you frustrated, but it was a great all-round performance. I remember Sane as well in particular.
It was breathtaking. I'm not too sure about the defending and the marking there. Do you not know that this lad scores a lot of goals?
You'd have headed that way, wouldn't you, Andy?
Yeah. So it's, but yeah, a magical night and a lot of goals. And you're looking at that team as well. Monaco, Savinho, it was a fantastic night. And I was actually here, and there was a lot of energy in that game.
Yeah. This next one then is when Sergio Aguero became our record goal scorer. It was against Napoli in that same Champions League season. City 4-2 away from home. A huge night for City in the Champions League and for the man himself, Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, Napoli were fantastic back then. They were really on the up and about to be the dominant side in Italian football. They were seen as one of the hardest games to go away, intensely passionate fans, an incredible stadium, a landmark event for a man who is an absolute genius. It feels weird that we've got someone to compare to him so soon with Haaland. But Aguero, a phenomenal player. And to score a goal of this quality in a game of this magnitude, in a stadium with that much history, of course, the former home of Maradona, that would have felt symbolic for him as well.
I also remember when we were just starting in Champions League, Napoli were always a bit of our bogey team.
Yeah.
Do you remember we came up against them a few times, and this really felt like, again, as I said about the Barcelona game, but the turning of the tide of Manchester City.
Another statement, wasn't it?
Yeah, and those games... You forget, now we're reflecting back on it, but that they were all a necessary part of the journey that got us to Istanbul.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to know you pulled 3, now we're going to see the 4th.
Now we're going, and I think you can all maybe guess what it is. I'm going to tash your mind back to 2023. The something kind of rings true about that season. Real Madrid at home, 4-0. Is that? Yeah, I think that might be the game. Lovely from Phil Foden. I mean, I'm going to get both your thoughts on this, but Stephen, this, I think it goes down for a lot of City fans as this was the culmination of all the seasons under Pep, and for me was the most complete and best performance I've ever seen from a City team.
Immediately hands on the back of my head watching this footage. I mean, goosebump inducing. I couldn't quite comprehend that we were capable of that back then. These are the kings of European football, the most amount of Champions Leagues won, and we utterly decimated them. It was a most complete one-sided performance I've probably ever seen in the Champions League, full stop. Not just necessarily an English side. It was insanely beautiful football. It was powerful. It was relentless. The intensity and the desire aligned with the skill. Madrid were blown away, and that was at that point we were winning a lot. I mean, there was nothing going to stop City. A performance of that quality, I think it terrified the world.
Yeah.
It was that good.
I mean, Andy, I remember in that first 30 minutes, if we'd have been 5 or 6-0 up, that would have been a fair result. We were that good.
Yeah, I did the commentary with Ali Man.
Yeah.
And they used the halftime of me and Ali finishing off, and they used it in the series in the summer. And it had me saying to Ali, I think that's the best 45 minutes of football I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's what was right in front of my eyes at that time. And the thing was, Courtois was man of the match at half-time. It was just surreal. And it was the pressure, it was the intensity, it was the turnover. They couldn't get 2 or 3 passes in. If you break it down technically from a coaching point of view, I can work it out afterwards why.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the legs. I think it was Camavinga went into midfield later in the game. But we ran all over them in every department. They couldn't get the ball off us. And then when in possession of the ball, you'll know better than me, Modric and...
I can't remember.
Was it? There wasn't Casemiro gone at that point.
No,
was it Cruz?
Cruz have been there, yeah. Cruz.
So they couldn't, they couldn't keep out. They based their game around dominating the ball, but they were playing against a team who were superior in them, and then they didn't have the legs to get around us. And it was almost the perfect storm that night, you know. And they couldn't stop us, and it could have been it could have been 5, 6, 7, and then afterwards, and we're still talking about it today because that really was that moment where you can say I was there on that night.
Yeah, you just dream of that as a child, as a City fan. Like the idea that City would beat Real Madrid 4-0 on the way to winning a treble. Like,
and the way we did it, Steve, the way it was done.
Never believe that. No. I wouldn't have believed that was possible growing up, and to witness that, it's just extraordinary.
I just want to check as well, Andy, did you get a nice paycheck from Netflix given that they used
no. I was absolutely delighted that they used that clip because it was one of them moments, you know, when you kind of like... Have we actually just seen that, Ali?
Yeah.
What's happened there? And they're coming off the pitch and we're looking at each other and we're just like, wow.
Yeah, it was almost too good to be true.
It was. It was. And again, like Courtois was man of the match. He's pulled off 3 or 4 saves that were breathtaking on the night.
Yeah, there was one on Bernardo early doors.
And the most important thing was that followed in the second half, not to the same degree, but the result had to reflect that game. You know, it couldn't have been like a 4-2 or whatever. That had to be 4-0 because that is a fair reflection of the dominance on that evening that then set us up, obviously, for the... You know, we knew then we were going to a final.
Of course, we all know what happened there. There might be a little question about that a little bit later on in the show, so make sure you keep watching. So, those are your 4 choices. Now, a QR code should be appearing on your screen wherever you're watching. You can scan that and use that QR code to cast your vote on which of those 4 games is your favourite under Pep Guardiola. We'll be revealing the results a little bit later on in the show, so just scan the QR code there. Now, I love hearing from these boys, Jolie and Lescott and Owen Hargreaves. They're always on duties over at our home at the Etihad Stadium, but we love to pull them aside and see what they're thinking of tonight's game. So let's head pitchside now. They're alongside Alistair Mann.
Yeah, welcome to Pitchside, where it is bitterly cold. The temperature's dropping all the time, but it's still a white-hot atmosphere, or it will be come kick-off time. I'm joined by the 2 TNT specialists, Jolie and Lescott and Owen Hargreaves, who are both, of course, ex-City players as well. Gentlemen, seems not that long ago we were talking about Dortmund. Here we are talking about Leverkusen. What did the Dortmund performance tell you about City?
I wasn't surprised. It was convincing. Dominated, and you just hoped then it would build some momentum, and it did to a point. Obviously Saturday was a slight blip, but it's always going to be a tough game and tough opponents, but I'm expecting another similar performance and result to the Dortmund game, to be honest.
And what did Dortmund do wrong that night that maybe Leverkusen could learn from?
You know what? Nothing really. I actually thought they started the game quite well. Problem is, when you come to the Etihad, you got to take your chances, and I thought they started the game well. Then they conceded, and then City got in gear, and then it was over. I thought Phil Foden put on a masterclass. Had of kind of stand in amongst chaos with loads of bodies around you, stand still, check your shoulder, and then execute. And obviously there's so many great players that you can't stop them all. But I thought Dortmund for a spell did okay. Then they scored, and then looked like they were got a bit more foothold in the game. But this team, they're too strong. I think the spine of the team and everybody kind of almost fit and healthy, obviously outside of Kovacic and Rodri. But I think. Same again today. You know, I think I predicted, was it something silly, 4-2 or 4-1? I think it was. But
the Dortmund game,
I think it'll be another similar one. I think I'll score 3 or 4.
What? I mean, let's go to that Newcastle game briefly. What do you think didn't happen for City? Was it a case of not taking chances?
You could say that, and arguably penalties, decisions went against them, but. You got to credit Newcastle. Donnarumma was outstanding, made some vital saves. Wasn't enough to get points on the board, but Newcastle is a tough place to go.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I just think City are in a place where if you genuinely believe you can beat them, you might get something out of the game. And as I said, you might get a goal or two. And I think we're definitely scoring at will, but we're also susceptible to conceding, and I think Newcastle recognise that, and that's a tough place to go. St James is the they needed that off the back of recent results for them, and the crowd were aware of that, and they made it hostile to a certain extent, but you can't take nothing away from Newcastle.
Let's get on to Leverkusen. I mean, you were part of an era with Bayern Munich when you denied them the title and everyone referred to them as Neverkusen. It's all changed, but how have they reacted to Xabi Alonso's departure, do you think?
Well, it's been tricky. I mean, obviously Ten Hag was in there for what felt like a minute, and then he was gone. I mean, obviously losing Frimpong and Wirtz and all the players that they've sold probably destabilised them. They're still playing that same formation that Xabi had under the new manager, but and he's done brilliantly. I think they're third in the Bundesliga. I think Dortmund are second, so that kind of gives you a level of where this team is probably at. But losing the manager, losing your best player, you know, you're losing Xhaka, his experience in there has probably been a big ask for them. So I think today is just a learning one, really, and how they manage. They spent a lot of money on some really good young players as well, which they have. But again, it's a big ask to come to the Etihad and showcase your best. So I think they'll come here and try and play if they can and hit City on the counter-attack. But no, it's been a tricky season at Leverkusen. That Leverkusen side I played against, they had some of the best individual players anywhere. You know, getting to Champions League finals, losing to Zidane on that crazy volley. So I think back to Ballack and all the guys that they had there. Yeah. They had an incredible group of players. This one I don't think's that level, obviously, but they're a well-coached team.
Let's get back to City. Pep Guardiola seems to be another milestone every single time that he comes to a game. His 100th Champions League match in charge of City tonight. I mean, let's try and put into words what he's done to this club, you know, in the last 10 years.
Sensational. I think he superseded anyone's expectations. I think we all hoped he would create a legacy and a dynasty, which he has done, but in the way he's done it, I think is exceptional. I think that the way we view the game now is different in England throughout all the period of football. So yeah, he's left a longer legacy than I think he's realised, and I think we all appreciate and will appreciate it more when it's all said and done.
We're at the halfway stage now of the Champions League. Which teams have surprised you? Which are the teams who we weren't expecting who've impressed you so far?
Do you know, I think compared to last season where there were a few surprises, I don't think there's been many. Do you know, the top teams are the top teams. You know, the Bayern and Arsenal and PSG. Liverpool, I think, are up there. And I think City, you know, they're right there. And I think teams learned how to play the group phase or last season. And I think it's a little bit different. Everyone's taking it super serious from the off. But I don't think there's been many surprises. I think the teams we expected probably to not make it will probably be those, and then it'll be interesting to see who finds form at the crucial time when the knockouts come. But it feels like it's for the big boys at the moment.
What are your thoughts? Do you think teams have learnt a lot from last season's league phase, particularly City maybe? Yeah,
I think they've recognised that you could face any team in the playoff, and that is not a place you want to be.
Don't want to be in there.
No, so let's get into the top 8 and cement that place as soon as possible. Teams are fully committed to doing that. I'm not saying they wasn't doing that last year, but I think facing Madrid for us and them facing Man City, I think it's recognised that this isn't guaranteed in the playoffs, so let's get it done.
Just one final thought with you, Owen. You kind of predicted what will happen tonight. Do you anticipate a very similar game to the Dortmund one, or do you think City will be more dominant than they were against Dortmund?
No, their manager likes to play, like a bit like Niko Kovac at Borussia Dortmund. He likes to play, but the problem is when you play these guys, they got probably the ball more than you. I know even City have had a lot of good results with a little bit less possession than the opposition, so they'll try and play, but I just don't think it will be easy for them. They got some really good young players that probably have the courage to come and want to showcase their ability, so that could be a plus for them. But I see them scoring, but I don't see them getting a result. Again, I think it'll be a 4-1 job.
OK, thank you very much. Thoughts of Jolyon Lescott and Owen Hargreaves in great form. I'll leave them to TNT duty. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Alistair Mann, alongside Jolyon and Owen Hargreaves there. Just looking at this City team, and I do think I want to dig into it a little bit more because, you know, we're never going to be able to fully understand Pep and how he works and how he thinks. But it does feel there is something being said tonight, Andy, when you are doing a ring sale of changes. It's almost like, you know, a fire sale. I mean, that's 10 changes bar Nico Gonzalez, including the keeper. As Stephen said there as well off camera, we've got Leeds at home, so it's a difficult game, but it doesn't feel like one of the hardest. If we're trying to, you know, hypothesise on some of the reasoning behind it, what do you think it is? Because it feels like a statement.
I think it's an opportunity. Still, I'm not saying early in the season, but to say to everyone, listen, nobody's shirt is secure.
Yeah.
Nobody is guaranteed a starting position in this squad. Donnarumma and Haaland, I think, go into a category where they are nailed. But and then there's arguments for the other areas. But I think it's to the whole squad, and more importantly to the players who are not necessarily have started the last few games, to sort of say, come on.
Yeah,
prove yourself.
Yes.
Because this is an open book now. We've got now game after game every 3 to 4 days. Go and show us. Go and show me tonight. That you want to be part of that. And then when you do get the shirt, make sure you don't give it up.
And with getting the shirt as well, because we've seen a lot of these players. Ryan Nico's held his position, which I think is fair because he's really come into his own. We've seen Reinders start, but I look kind of a rest bar, maybe John Stones. We've seen them, but coming off the bench. And you'll know as a player, there's one thing coming on, but are you ever going to get the chance to show the best version of yourself or what you're bringing to this team unless you start and go, give me 90 minutes, Pep? Yeah,
and I think you've nailed it there, Cal. I think that's the message tonight.
Yeah.
Is to the whole group of this 25 players, listen, it's open, and now I'm asking you to come and show me. Because we've had opportunities, there's been some highs, there's been some, then, we dropped off a little bit, but go and show me now, because going forward now, I'm going to be relentless.
Yes.
The manager is like, I am going every game now. It's the biggest game of the season.
Yes.
So who's on board?
Yeah.
And I think that looks like that sort of thing's been put out there tonight. No sulking. Nobody's saying I haven't been involved and not been given a chance. Your opportunity is there tonight to go and make sure. Yeah.
And my reaction after when we saw the lineup for Newcastle game was actually Pep's found his 11, because it's the same against Liverpool. He's played that team a few times where, Shirky on the right and the full-backs and centre-backs being the same and so on. He felt like, he's sort of favouring this selection of players right now because it's working and so on. And given the timing of this, obviously, it's at home, it's a big game. We've got to win this, really, given how the last season was touch and go at the end.
Yeah.
And given the result of the weekend, I think he's gone, well, look, a lot of people might feel you're in the side now, but absolutely not. Some of these players, could be there on merit by their own individual standards. Kusanov, for example, was in cracking form before his injury, and he would have probably even been in the team still without that injury. So he deserves his chance. Marmoush is a fantastic player. He'd probably be the reason we qualified for Champions League football last season when he came back in. He deserves this chance. So I think Guardiola very cleverly, very smartly has gone, you may feel that you're in the team right now, but he can change just like that.
Yes.
And this is a game I spent the whole press conference telling how poor it is, and I've changed the entire side. That is incredibly symbolic. And I love the fact that he's given James Trafford a go as well, because he keeps talking about how he's got 2 special goalkeepers, and this is backing up his words there. Trafford could easily just play the Carabao Cup or FA Cup games, and he said, no, you're starting in the Champions League tonight. He's by Leverkusen, a team as recently as 18 months ago went unbeaten in the Bundesliga. And a game that we need to win to get towards qualification. This is a massive statement, and look, we were chatting off camera intensely about it. It shocked us. Imagine what the players feel like. I think it's really smart. I love it.
That's a great point, actually. What do you reckon is the little conversations players will be having, Andy? Or obviously, I know it's difficult, isn't it? I know Pep creates an atmosphere, and it's one of our greatest strengths is the energy and the cohesiveness. But that will create a little bit of talk in the changing room, surely.
I would imagine so, and I think more so after the game when we see what the result is.
I know. Imagine losing, you're like,
Well, you should have changed it,
We're
Pep.
all experts after the event, but he's had to make a really brave decision before. But no, I think the players have worked with the manager for long enough now to know that if he senses something, if he feels anyone's getting into a bit of a comfort zone, he'll change it. We're speaking about this earlier on. He's worked with the biggest names in world football, and knows how to deal with them. And he can sense anything in it. He can sense when things are positive. He can sense when things are slightly negative. He can sense when there's a lack of energy. And he just has that brain that's able to say, I know what this needs at this moment in time. And he's got it right on so many occasions, where we've questioned or whatever, and the results have followed. And then it's not. Of course, it's about tonight. But it's about the message that's been sent out going forward, and what this season can hold for us. We're still in 4 competitions where everything's there for us. So, come on board and be part of what I want to do, because he'll be thinking winning everything.
Yeah. And you can't forget as well, Stephen, last time out in the Champions League, Borussia Dortmund was one of the most complete performances we'd seen for a while from a City team.
Yeah, we were excellent. You know, Phil, a couple of lovely goals. Savino had a good game. Yeah, we were great. And to be so, you know, once against another German side, play reasonably similar football, to make that many changes, it has to be intentional. I do like it. I think it's a very clever move from Guardiola. I think it's timely as well. And you know, the Dortmund game, you would have think you could have just saw a repetition of that, but he's gone way more dramatic, you know, with the sweeping changes. And I think we need to remember, this is at this stage of the season, it's classic Guardiola. Like, he spent an awful lot of time for the first half of the season tweaking the side and working out, you know, who we can rely on and what, you know, his team will look like. And it's usually around January and February when it all starts to pull together for City. You can't work that out until you try things.
Yes.
And given that he's tried a similar lineup for the past few games, now he's gone, well, let's see what the other guys can do. And it will be around January, February where we start to see something approaching a consistent 11. Of course, there'll be changes, but largely that is when it gets going, because it's what Guardiola does, you know. He tweaks and tweaks and tweaks, gets the bigger picture, and he comes up with something. And I can't wait to see what happens. I think the players will really relish this opportunity. And, you know, not a Phil tonight, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
We all would have had him in the team, but yeah.
You know, you're just watching that game and, you know, the shape that Dortmund went with, you know, and it's similar tonight. Leverkusen, it's like a 5-box-1 in the way they play, and where Phil's found those pockets. It's hard. When we come up against the 5, we flatten the 5 out with our width. It's hard for our wide men to affect the game.
Yes.
So them little 10 pockets become really important, and that's where Phil Foden was so good on the night, because of the way I thought they were actually, Dortmund, I thought they were excellent. First 15, 20 minutes, I was so impressed with the way they just structured, the way they played. You know, they were so organised. They had a massive big switch from left to right that had obviously worked on. They kept getting out with their opposite wing back, and was really impressed with them. And, you know, but we found a way, obviously, we were superior in them on the night. But this tonight is going to be a really difficult game in a similar way, because I think the same problems are going to be there. And, you know, these are a point above. These are actually third in the league, point above Dortmund. You know, so this is a good team. You know, the second top goal scorers in behind Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
You know, this is a good outfit.
Yeah.
This is a difficult game tonight, you know, and it's got all the makings of an open game.
We're going to get the Bayer Leverkusen team news in just a second with Alistair Mann and Steve Howie, who is on your commentary team today. But I just wanted to pick up, because the conversation, and we've got some great games coming up as well, but will there be anything that also Leverkusen, a bit of hope or inspiration they'll take from the result at the weekend? And I did just want to get your thoughts, because it does feel remiss. I felt like as City fans, we all went into the kind of coming back after the international break on that run of games before, thinking we've hit a bit of form, we've hit a bit of stride. Obviously, the international break, you know, it's going to, you know, stop you a little bit. But yeah, are the things there you saw they might take open? Or I just wanted to get your assessment of what went quite wrong for City.
If they looked at the game at the weekend and they saw how Newcastle problems that they caused us, you know, it's all gone out the window tonight with the team selection.
Yeah. That's so true.
Because they spent 2 days working on the Newcastle strengths, and then all of a sudden it's a totally different 11. So, you know, they're I'm sure they'll have seen things that they think they're weaknesses, and you know, and has it felt a little bit of a stop-start? You know, I even go back to, you know, when we battered Juventus, and then went into the next game, and then we started with Wolves and then Spurs, you know, with what we did to Liverpool and then Newcastle. It's been feels a little bit like, and I think that might be the questions that the manager's asking. You know, I'm still not completely sure what I'm going to get in the next game. And I think that's, you know, he needs to know. And I think that's, again, what we've already alluded to tonight. That's the opportunity tonight, is for the manager to go, I'm beginning to feel what my 11 I can trust. Yeah. You know,
I think the league form shows it, because, like, just one draw, we either seem to win or lose, basically. Like, we've won most games, of course, but just the one draw highlights, in my opinion, we're a team that is blowing very hot and sometimes quite cold as well. And I think those inconsistencies in terms of the highs and lows, you want them a lot narrower, don't you? And that, to me, is sort of symbolic of a team that we know is going under a massive rebuild right now. So many new players in the squad, and those extremes will be there. It's more like that, the wave, as opposed to, you know, gentle.
But naturally, over time, it
will get smaller and smaller. But that's why you have to play these players. You've got so many players there who are new to the club in this 11 today. Even in the weekend, they could not get up to consistency or the rhythm that Guardiola wants without game time.
Yeah.
It's a necessity.
Yeah, Jen's loving tonight's conversation. Right, let's take a pause here, though, in the studio. We're going to head back pitchside because we can get Bayer Leverkusen team news and the thoughts of Alistair Mann and Steve Howie.
Yeah, welcome back to Pitchside, where I'm joined by Saturday's co-commentator Michael Brown and tonight's co-commentator Steve Howie. Gentlemen, you're most welcome. I'm going to start with you because you're immediately to my left. We've had a chance to digest that City lineup. 10 changes. Are you shocked?
Do you know what? We get here and we plan and have a little look and think maybe 4 or 5 changes in the Champions League because of the weekend, because of games, internationals. But to be 10 changes, yes, I am shocked. But when you look at the players and you look at the opportunities that you're going to get, I think the position in the Champions League, I feel, is cemented in a good place, but it's still a very important game. So now you've got to take your opportunity, you've got to take your chance. I think going into this Christmas period, you've got to give people a game, and where can you do it? How can you fit it in? So I think it's still a balance when you look throughout the squad. I think that front line is going to be interesting, who plays where, whether Mamouche is going to play as a 9, where will Oscar Bob, will he come inside as well? So Aït-Nouri, an opportunity we can go on, but notably the one in goal as well, a great opportunity for Trafford. So I'm looking forward to the game.
Just going back to the Newcastle game on Saturday, did we learn anything new about City at the weekend?
I just think it was a difficult game. You'd have thought when it went to 1-1. Me personally, I thought there was only going to be one winner, but you've got to say fair play to Newcastle. I thought they didn't just sit back; they went for it again, and obviously got the goal. You'd have thought could City have put the ball in the box a little bit more? Could it have been a little bit more direct in the latter stages? But ultimately, you've got to say that even though City were pushing for that equalising goal, Newcastle defended very, very well.
Well, I'm going to come on to the Leverkusen lineup right now, which we've just been given. Flecken, who was at Brentford for a few years, he's in goal. Quansah, who was at Liverpool, of course. Bardet, Belosian, Poku, Garcia, who was a City player for a number of years but went on loan a lot, including to Girona. Mazza, the central midfielder. Alex Grimaldo, the captain. Then you've got Tillman, Coffin and Schick. Well, from what I know about Bayer Leverkusen, that is a very attacking lineup. They don't normally play with Coffin and Schick and Poku all in tandem. I just wonder, Mike, if that tells us that they're not going to sit here and park a bus tonight.
Well, I don't think they have that chance to do so. I think you look at the position, you go, right, the format, how long can you wait? But on those attacking areas to have the two of them. And Poku is still waiting to find out where he's going to play, because we've seen him more in advance. The reports are saying he might be down that right-hand side. Quansah coming in. Flecken, we know, obviously well from the Premier League. So I think they can score goals. I think we know that. That is a big concern. Away from home, obviously, they just beat Benfica 1-0. I think they lost to Bayern Munich 3-0. But other than that, they've generally done well on the road. They're scoring goals and sort of decent enough form. And I think they'll come full of confidence. And when they see the 10 changes, I feel like they'll be right on the front foot and they'll come to cause problems.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. What do you think they'll have planned for a City lineup? I imagine not too dissimilar to Newcastle. What will they feel when they see the 10 changes tonight?
Well, in all fairness, it's still a very, very good team with fantastic players. So, yeah, of course, there's not the Haalands of this world in the starting lineup, but still, the quality there is all to see. I mean, yeah, I think they'll have a go, but you look at them in against English teams away from home. From 10 games, they've only won 1, they've drew 1 and lost 8. But having said that, as we've discussed, they've got quite an attacking sort of system there. And I think they'll be going out and they'll try to push City. But as I said, you look at City's team and the players that they've got in that starting 11, they could cause problems just as much as well. So I think it's going to be a very exciting game.
Who are you looking forward to in the City lineup, bearing in mind they're getting opportunities to impress the manager?
Well, we're always looking, aren't we? I think Oscar Bob was the one this season. He started off, I felt like he was going to be able to contribute in so many different positions. He had the trust of the manager. He's had to come back out. He's had to wait. Mamouche, we know, he's desperate for a game. High energy, high impact. Aït-Nouri will be frustrated at this moment, won't he? Regarding how well Nico O'Reilly's done. So he'll be looking to step forward, step into the game, get into a nice attacking position. So we can go out, can't we? John Stones, the leader. Do you know, we can never write off or say how good he has been for this football club. And when these games start to kick in, John Stones fit, healthy, obviously England international playing games, he'll be ready. I think he'll cruise through this game, and so they're the ones we can go on, can't we? I think the goalkeeper situation for confidence, I think it'll be important for Traff to get some minutes, to get back out. It's been a while for him.
What do you think? What's your gut feeling telling you about tonight?
I think it'll be an entertaining game. I mean, listen, I think they need to push forward and they need to try and win, given I think the 21st in the league format, City of 4th. So I think for them to be coming forward, it's going to probably leave gaps, even though they'll try their best to make sure that there isn't gaps. But as Brownie has said, and that we've discussed, you look at the City team and they've got players that can hurt you, definitely hurt you. So I think City will win tonight, but I'm hoping for a very entertaining game. I'm sure we'll get it though.
Well, they're the thoughts of Steve Howie, who's my co-commentator. Michael Brown, who's with me again at Fulham next week. But from now, back to the studio and you guys.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Steve Howie. You just mentioned there as well, that's a really important point, mentioning that Bayer Leverkusen are coming for a result tonight. And looking at their team, I think Ali mentioned as well, there's a couple of partnerships that don't usually play together. How do you think they're going to approach it? Looking at their team?
I think it will have changed. I think it would have caught the manager. I think it would have caught them all out when that team has actually, they'd have been preparing for probably the informed wide man in world football, in Doku. They would have been thinking about game plan, how they're going to double up, how they're going to stop that, how they're going to prevent Haaland, how they're going to stop Foden finding, and then all of a sudden that comes, you know. So they're going to have to think very quickly, and I think they'll be positive because they realise they've got to take something from this game. You know, they had to come into this game and be positive. They couldn't just sit off because they know what City can do and capable of, running all over a team if they start right and score early. So, you know, but they'll have to manage it and they'll have to be careful. They don't leave themselves exposed, but with a mindset of, you know, we need to go on and as I think Steve has just said there rightly, that will begin to create an open game. You know, I can't see them sitting off as Kel and just going like, you know, just let them play, let them keep the ball. And
you know, there's a few names that I think they mentioned there as well. I mean, one that'll be familiar with City fans, Alex Garcia, came up through our academy, didn't quite make it. He was at Girona, signed for Leverkusen last season. You've got Grimaldo, who arguably is one of the most informed left backs. He's scored 7 goals in 15 games, including 2 braces, set piece king as well, and of course their striker as well. So they've got players scattered all over that can hurt us, defence, middle or attack, Stephen.
I mean, as I said, it's the remnants of the invincible side, so there's obvious quality there. And Alex Garcia, I've been watching, I remember when he signed for the academy, his dad sat behind me for his first game for the academy, so I've got a bit of a fondness for him anyway. A really talented player. Pep, of course, played him a couple of times, and been playing against Swansea in the Carabao Cup for Pep. Really talented. Grimaldo, a player linked to City for years as well. You know,
sure.
For many, he's... Don't get free kicks around the edge of the box, basically, because he will cause trouble. And Schick, an experienced, wily goal scorer, who is the kind of goal scorer that revels in a game like this, you know, against one of the European giants. You've got to take them seriously. I think they've won 7 out of the last 9. Of course, Ten Hag was manager at the start of the season, didn't last very long, but Kasper Hjulmann's come in and he's made them strong. He's made them refine their confidence. And, you know, this will... Obviously, it will change their game plan, of course, but I would see it as a motivation if I was them. I'd be like, OK, well, as much as it's a whole bunch of players trying to prove a point, they've not played much football. There's no way that there's going to be the chemistry that it would have been from the previous 11 that's played, because that's a rhythm. There's a rhythm with those lot. You know, they know what they're doing, and I'm sure these ones do too. But it is a bunch of players who are lacking match fitness to an extent. So it's a massive chance for Leverkusen.
I wanted to ask Andy as well, just on a tactical point of view, because you mentioned about the back 5, and actually that's where then usually, you know, what we have seen is Phil Foden really be able to take the game by the scruff of his neck, or maybe Shirky coming into the 10, or a Bernardo Silva. We know Pepper spoke about how much he values and rates Rico in those pockets, but we've not necessarily got the 10s on there today. So do you think we're going to try maybe a different approach, or we might see a slightly different kind of style of play from some of the players on the starting 11? Well,
I think he'll expect to dominate the ball. I think, you know, the patterns will start from the back. You know, it'll be through our centre halves. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see, you know, what positions they pick up, because, you know, of late, Nico Riley has been so high up the pitch, and Doku's give us a different dimension when he's come into midfield, where he's quickened up the turnover and the transition. He's quickened up that period where we seem to be getting shots off from Haaland from different kind of areas. So it's causing the opposition more problems with Doku coming in. Yes, one-on-one wide area is great, but the difference in the speed of play when we find him, when we end up with our fullbacks really high, and then the wingers, the wide men come inside and create little pockets of space. But I think you're right. I don't see that natural sort of 10 where, with his back to play, we've been able to little flicks around the corner, little 1-2s in around the box like we've seen from Cherki and Foden. So yeah, it will be interesting. But in Reinders, you've got a running midfielder who wants to stretch the opposition. I'd imagine I'd see him going past Marmoush continually. Yeah. Marmoush, maybe the two of them swapping in and out. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then we have got two wide men, but they will be playing, in it. Trying to nail down anyone into, I think John Stones will be centre half.
Yeah. Well, you think as well, but he's playing defensively. Kusanov is not going to get forward in the way that Núñez can do, because Kusanov is a centre back playing right back. So that immediately, if there's anyone supporting, it's going to be Aït-Nouri. Yes. Aït-Nouri is very good at the half spaces. He will tuck in a little bit, you'd expect, because technically he's really good. And Savinho, you'd think would keep the width. Of course, they can sort of interchange. And we've actually seen Savinho drift centrally a bit before anyway. Pep was trying that at the Club World Cup in particular. So you'd think the width's going to come from Aït-Nouri. But those three defensively, Kusanov, Stones, Ake, they're going to stay back, which I think Reinders, what Andy's saying is true. Reinders for the Netherlands got forward, he scored at the international break as well. He likes to get past his striker, so I think he'll be tasked with going forward, knowing that we've got Kusanov, Ake, Stones, who will stay back, and expecting, as you said, they'll have essentially a back five. We should be able to get people like Reinders close to Marmoush, because I think they'll be deep, and we've got three centre backs essentially back, compared to usually Núñez and O'Reilly, who both like to go forward. So I think it will lend itself to Reinders be able to be close to Marmoush, and I think Bob will have to keep the whip, because Kusanov isn't going to get forward and support him. I think Bob and Rico Lewis have a really nice chemistry though when they play together. You can see that CFA heritage within them, and he'll know when to move around him, and I think he will actually, with Rico Lewis's right back background, allow him to tuck in a bit every now and then. Oscar, Bob?
Yeah, and Rico Lewis, as we know as well, has always shown on the Champions League.
He loves it, doesn't he?
Right from when he was 17 years old. I want to take a moment here. We're going to head back to the Etihad Stadium. The boys are out there warming on the pitch, but just a little bit before that, Manchester City fan and singer Alex Spencer joined Alistair Mann. Now, you might know the name because he was on EAFC with his own song. He has given us his thoughts of the game and maybe even a little performance if we're lucky.
Right, welcome back to the Pitchside. I say Pitchside, but we're actually on the stage here, where I'm joined by a musician called Alex Spencer, who's not only a musician, but also a massive City fan. So I'm guessing this must be a bit of a dream.
Mate, honestly, this is my biggest dream come true, playing here. We're one step closer to headlining the place at our own gig, but this is pretty crazy.
Tell us about your musical journey.
Wow, where do I begin? I started off busking on the streets of Manchester when I was about 11, 12 years old. Started busking at Man City around the concourse. And then over time, I built a following on social media and started playing gigs, writing music. I got my song on FIFA last year and started building a fan base in Manchester. City have been backing me since day one. And now we're touring the UK, Europe and playing the Etihad tonight, so this is flipping crazy for me.
You've already had a bit of a gig with the City players, haven't you, once?
Yeah. Forgot about that one, yeah. In 22, when we won the league, when that last game against Villa, where we scored that last-minute winner, the next day I performed for all the lads, all the players in Manchester, and it was crazy. So yeah, they all love my stuff.
Tell me about the song that you've got on EA Sports on FIFA. How did that come about?
How did that even come about? It just got pitched out. The song has a bit of Spanish in. I'm half Spanish. Dad's from Droylsden, Manchester. Mum's from Barcelona. So FIFA loved it, and it blew up, and everyone loved it. And also City helped get it, and yeah, now we're here.
So at 7:45, 7:45, you're going to be doing a little bit here. What have you got lined up for us?
We've got lined up an original tune, the song on FC 25, which playing it live in this stadium is crazy. And we're going to do a little Oasis number. Live Forever, one of my favourite tunes, and we'll do a little na 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 City, get everyone singing. I love it when the crowd sing, and that's when I play a show and I see the crowd loving it, the crowd singing, it really motivates me to keep going and want to do this more. So yeah. And
tell us about your City pass. What was all that involved with you?
My City pass, so my dad's a huge Blue, generations down of him Blues, and wow, I first came here when I was 2014 when I was 7 years old to what we watched Wolves, and I think we won. And since then, I've been a City fan all my life. My dad used to show me like gig clips from Main Road and Etihad, Oasis, and all that. And then yeah, I've built my way up, building a great relationship with City, and been at most of the games, and I'm loving it. This is my home. I'm only from round the corner, so it's great to be here.
And in terms of gigs and places you played, where does this rank tonight?
I think this is the top one. This is, 55,000? It's going to be surreal. I've dreamed of this moment for all my life. I'm touring in February, my headline tour. We're playing the Academy in Manchester. That'll be like 1,000 people, my own headline show, so get tickets for that. But nothing beats this one, I don't think. Nothing beats it.
Now, you're normally on your own, but it looks as though you've got a few band members. Who are we going to have playing with you?
So we've got my backing band who join me. They're all my best mates. Will on the drums, Annabelle on the bass, Harrison on the keys, and yeah, sound check sounded amazing. So stay around and watch the real thing. And yeah,
I was going to say to you, I'm going to end this with you playing something, but have you got something ready for us? If I don't want to put you on the spot, but something that I'm sure everyone will recognise straight away. Alex Spencer's going to take one away to end this little bit. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of a man who'll be starring on this stage in a few minutes' time. It's all yours, Alex.
I'll do a little chorus. Slip inside the eye of your mind. Do you know you might find a better place to play? 'Cause you say that you never been. All the things that you've seen slowly fade away. So I start a revolution from my bed. Because you said the brains are how into my head. Step outside the summertime in bloom. Stand out beside the fireplace. Take that love from off your face. You ain't never gonna burn my heart out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as she's walking on by. My soul slides away, but don't look back in anger. I heard you say, "Up the blues, let's
woohoo!" Top that! I don't think I can. Back to you.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Alex Spencer. I tell you what, Alistair Mann, though, I don't know. I think back yourself. I think if we give Alistair Mann a guitar, I'd like to see what he could rustle up for us. We'll make that happen on one of those Matchday Lives at some point. Thank you for joining us. If you've just tuned in, we're here in the studio. They're over at the Etihad Stadium at Pitchside. I'm alongside Andy and Stephen. Before we take a little look at that result at the weekend, I wanted to also turn our attention to another game that happened tonight. Earlier on this evening in the Uefa Youth League, our EDS were in action. And what a night for the boys in blue. They came out 6-0 winners. We're going to bring you the goals here. Of course, kicking off with this first one here, which is a penalty, scored by Regan Heskey. What a under-17 World Cup he had, by the way. I think he got 3 player of the matches. Second goal came from a lovely finish from who else but Divine Mukasa. What a season he's having as well. Been great to see him trickle into the first team. Then McFarlane steps up with some lovely work there on the wing. Takes it lovely there with his left foot to make it 3-0. Then we go back to the man himself. Wow, I'm sliding all over the show there. Lovely ball over the top here for none other than Divine Mukasa, who definitely knows where the back of the net is with that lovely, lovely finish. Then another man who's found the back of the net a few times this season. Lovely interception, and it is finished beautifully by Samba. Finds it there at the near post with a cracking finish. And to wrap it off, to make it 6-0, and to get his hat-trick, Divine Mukasa with 3 goals this evening in the UEFA Youth League. It has finished Manchester City 6, Bayer Leverkusen 0. So Divine Mukasa finishing his hat-trick there with a penalty. I mean, Stephen, many names there that we'll know, but what a season Divine Mukasa's having.
Yeah, what a player. Fantastic talent. I mean, this level for him there, you know, he looked like he belonged in the first team in the minutes that we've seen so far. And it reminds me of when Cole Palmer, you know, when he played a little bit for the first team, went over and grabbed the hat-trick for the EDS, you know, like an hour later. Not quite the same scenario, but, you know, a hat-trick for the youth side, despite being a first-team player this year. It just shows that he's ready for that next step, you know, to essentially establish himself next season. He's a quality footballer.
Really is indeed. What we can hear from him now, here he is speaking at full-time.
Divine, first of all, a huge congratulations on another hat-trick for you. How happy must you be with that?
Yeah, really happy. Always happy to help the team. So, yeah, couldn't have asked for much more.
What's it been like for you getting to put on the captain's armband and walk the team out in this competition?
I think I really enjoy the responsibility, and I appreciate that I've got the trust from the manager to give me the armband. So, yeah, I just take it and enjoy it.
I assume Ben asked you to hopefully help score goals, otherwise we wouldn't have seen you get a hat-trick. But what was the main aim for you today in this game?
I think for us as a team, we're such a talented attacking team, so the main message was to get everything right out of possession, and then the in-possession stuff will take care of itself, and I think we did that.
And talk us through your goals a little bit. Which one was your favourite tonight?
It's got to be the second one, I think. Steph played the ball over the top, just touched it down and volleyed it. Yeah, it was a good goal.
It was a good goal. Do you get to keep the match ball?
I do, yeah. So everyone signed it.
Oh, everyone signed it for you?
Yeah.
That's really nice. Obviously now we're almost through to the knockout stages.
Yeah.
What's that like for you and the team, knowing that we're pretty much there?
I think we've got so much belief as a team in the talent of the team. So we have to get through in this competition. It's what's expected of us, and it's what we want to do as a team. So yeah, it's really good to take a step in the right direction.
You were one of the key players in our campaign last season. Obviously that frustrating defeat that saw us end our campaign. Is that kind of motivating you and the players that experienced it last season to fight for more this season?
Yeah, 100%. I think we deserve something, and it's just down to us to get something out of the season.
It's been a bit of a mixed start to the season for us, but how important could this win tonight be in kind of moving us in the right direction?
Yeah, I think it was vital. I think coming off the back of 2 losses, we needed this, and it was quite a statement. I think with it being 6-0, we kept a clean sheet. So now we just got to go on to the next game and win again.
Finally, our final game in this competition sees us travel to Real Madrid, so no easy feat. But how exciting is that for you, kind of getting to play against such a team like that?
Yeah, really exciting. I think that's what we're all here for, to play in this competition and against the best teams in Europe. So we're really looking forward to it, and off the back of this win, we're quite confident as well.
Divine, thank you for your time and congrats again on the win.
Thank you very much.
Yep, 6-0 winners for our EDS in the UEFA Youth League. Hat-trick from that man there, Divine Mukasa. Wanted to just cast our mind back to the weekend, because it'd be remiss just not to talk about the game at St James's Park. Was gutted, really, Andy, I think. And for me, I do believe if we'd have played that game before the international break with the form and the momentum, could see it maybe being a different result. I would love to get your assessment of why didn't we come out winners, and were the things that we could have done better? We can bring the goals as well, but yeah, what were your thoughts on the game at the weekend?
I thought it was a tough one to take, I think, for anyone connected with City, because of the form we were in and the positivity as well, especially after the Liverpool game. We didn't just beat Liverpool, we bossed the game, we dominated the game in every department. We were better than them, we outthought them tactically, and we had too much. And for momentum, you're going into that game, and it felt, it really was a disappointing one to take. Yeah. And we always try and paint it, as positive as we can with our blue tinted glasses on, and we always do that, and when we're all guilty of that. But we gave up too many opportunities. Yeah. Kel, we cannot be going away to teams and Donnarumma having to pull off 2 or 3 saves like he did in the first half, and the opposition getting 5, 6, 7 chances in a game, because then it becomes a 4-2. We'll see the goals here now. It's a little bit fortunate that it fell in the way it did for Barnes, because it was a tackle that actually, and he didn't have to break stride. Then neither centre-half, if we look at it here now, it's just this little connection there, just knocks it into his path, and then the centre-halves can't get there. Yeah. So he hasn't had to take another stride, just that little toe poke. And look, he doesn't have to break his stride, and then the 2 centre-halves can't get out to block it. Donnarumma can't get to that because it's in the corner.
But the point you were saying as well, though, there were 4 or 5 saves that he'd had to make even
Fantastic
before
saves.
that. You know,
and there was chances that were missed. I think Barnes missed the chance in the first half. We're not sure whether it was because they didn't score. We didn't get VAR to see whether it was offside or not. So there was, again, the game was probably not the way we've become accustomed to, where we dominate the ball and we restrict the opposition to very few chances. Become a little bit stretched, and I'm sure the manager would have looked at that afterwards and worked with his coaches in the after the game and the following day. Why are we so open?
And Steve, I was going to say, add to that as well. But it was also then we also got the goal back after we had our own few chances as well.
Yeah, we did. You think at that point, it's a huge moment. Look how the players were absolutely delighted. And you think at that point, lock in, steady the game down if you can, try and assert yourselves. But we couldn't really keep our composure, which to me was sort of the story of the game, really. I think about usually a team, you can get away with 1 or 2 players, maybe misfiring or not doing their job. But you can't get away with your defence being leaky and your goal scorers not doing their job at the same time. And I think fundamentally we probably could have got away with conceding those chances if Haaland and Foden had put their chances away at the same time. If we score one of those early on, it's a different game. It unfolds, in an entirely different way because of confidence, momentum, and so on. But the defence couldn't quite keep the door shut, and the strikers couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. It's to quote Fabian Delph, the basics of football.
That's a recipe for disaster. That as well.
It is. It usually is. It's that simple, unfortunately. Like if Haaland and former PFA Player of the Year Phil Foden, 2 elite level footballers, if they score, it's just an entirely different night. And it's sometimes your strikers don't score and your defenders can't keep the chances from breaking through. And just too many had maybe just an off night, which probably has led to the changes tonight to see, well, okay, you guys have done well recently. You've had the Liverpool game, Bournemouth, so on, but maybe let's see what others can do, which I think is probably the fair conclusion.
But Andy, had you been on that pitch, I'm guessing you would not have been happy, though, that within 2 minutes the ball was then back in our own net. I feel like that's another one that is, again, the basics of you get back in it and we can talk maybe a little bit about this, but feels a little bit sloppy and a lack of concentration.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great ball to the far post, and he gets well up above Nunes. It goes back. I mean, they keep it alive brilliantly, don't they? There can't be an argument that it was offside because of VAR. I mean, I felt looking at it by the eye that it was going to be, disallowed, but it wasn't. It went, and they kept the ball alive, and things fell for them. For Gomez, the way it hit the crossbar and it came down in a bit, but you've got to make sure those things don't happen. Managing the game somehow from the moment you score, the next moments, the turnover of possession, and then how we start to do things again. It was just so quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That we never really got a foothold in the game then to go on and win it, because I think Steve, we expected to go on and win the game.
Absolutely. Usually, a side of City's quality, when you get that goal, the momentum, it tends to follow through. And I think it sort of slightly touches at where City are right now. When you've lost Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri's not available currently. So many essentially legends of Manchester City. Maybe the experience previously to go to Newcastle and get drawn into that dogfight, which essentially it was. They'd stand up to them because they understand, St James's Park. And not that these players don't get it, but it's a very different 11 right now.
Yeah.
Maybe doesn't quite have the experience or the composure that a De Bruyne, a Rodri or a Gundogan would have had previously, and it's fine, it is normal, but I think there are some shortcomings of this side as they learn what's expected of them, and I think Newcastle were the sort of the antidote to City, unfortunately.
Yeah. We've got a slight pause, though, from the Premier League, which is nice, and we're here in the Champions League, and we can take a quick look at the table as it currently stands. And as you were saying, and it's a great point, last season we were making head to tails of this new format, new competition. We've got a better sense now of where you need to be at certain points. So obviously, looking at today's opponent, if we're starting at the back end of the table, they are towards that bottom. They're sitting around that 22nd mark out of 36 teams. Working our way up, then obviously we know it's the top 8 that go through automatically into the next round. Chelsea, Barcelona, Tottenham kind of sitting in that middle group alongside Borussia Dortmund. It does feel, Andy, 4 games to play. Our next 2 games are at home, which if we win both will put us on 16 points. Could be huge in securing top 8 in this year's competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think you're spot on. I think even at this stage, maybe Steve's have more idea than me, but it still seemed a bit confusing at this stage last year. Where are we? How are we positioned? We can win that game, we'll lose this one. We never expect to lose a game, but we'll be okay. But it felt the struggle towards the end and the desperation to get over the line, and that seemed to be from the very start. The first game against Inter Milan at home was a strange game. That's a game you expect a quarter-final to be. So we've had the experience of last year, and now I think it's pretty clear that the top clubs are realising that you're going to draw Madrid. If you look at the way that PSG came through in the latter, and that late run that they had, how it can change so quickly, and it's so important that you get yourself cemented in that top 8, get the points that are needed, and these next 2 games, as you just said, are huge.
Absolutely.
It's a cliche, but more than ever with this new format, you have to focus on yourself, because previously in the group stages, you'd look at the table and you knew exactly what's coming up. You know who everyone's going to play because you're in the same group, and you can sort of plan ahead. But no one can remember every single fixture. Every fixture is different for every single team. There's no structure to it. It's all randomised, and you can't remember who everyone's playing around you constantly and plan ahead. Really, I'm sure the data people do, but largely you just have to really look inwards and focus on yourself, because it's just there's too many variables and too many forms are so wild, and you all play a different selection of sides. So you really just have to focus on getting sort of an arbitrary amount of points, and sort of models and data suggest it's around 15 points will probably get your top 8. And where we're at right now, we're in a really good place, which makes the selection tonight even more, mystifying in a good way, because obviously you think you'd want to play what would be perceived as the strongest 11 to get closer to it. But I think everyone's still trying to get their heads around this structure, because it is different. I'm old school stuff. I still prefer the previous one.
Yeah.
But it's the same trophy at the end of the competition, and that's the only thing that matters.
And it has been chugging up some good games, some big ones this week as well. I think we've got Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Barcelona, obviously Rashford going back there as well. I can't remember who Tottenham have got, but they've got a Tottenham, PSG as well. So it's given us some of them fixtures of them big teams as well. But as we say, still so much to play for. Just bringing you some pictures here of the boys heading back into the change room after doing their warm-up, which does mean we've not got long to go. I mean, it's just over 15 minutes till kick-off. It's flying by. So, gents, I've got a game for us to play in just a second. We've also got the answer to that poll of what has been your favourite Champions League game under Pep Guardiola, of course, celebrating 100 games in the Champions League as Manchester City manager. But before that, let's get a little bit more of a lowdown on today's opponents from their fan club. Here are some of the Bayer Leverkusen fans.
Hi, my name is Frankie Burton. I am part of the Bayer Leverkusen UK fan club and also part of a German fan club called the Skunks. I think our danger man for Tuesday is probably Alejandro Grimaldo. He's a left wing back, but he takes a lot of our set pieces, and I think if we're going to have a chance on Tuesday, set pieces are going to be key for us. So just hoping he's going to be fit for the game. At the moment he's got a bit of a muscle injury, so potentially might miss the game. But if not, Patrick Schick up front. Patrick scored 5 goals already this season. If we can get some service to him, which will be difficult, I think he'll be one to watch out for. I think the boss, Kasper Hullman, he's done a good job this season so far. Obviously, Erik ten Hag leaving after 3 games was difficult, and we lost a lot of players in the summer, the whole spine of the team pretty much. So Hullman's done a good job in steadying things. We're in decent form at the moment. Bayern Munich game aside, where we found it tough away at the Allianz, but in general we're playing some decent football. We have a really young squad, some exciting players for the future. I think my prediction for the game is a difficult one. I mean, anybody in world football going to Man City is going to be tough. If you ask me who's the better team right now, I'd probably say Dortmund, and they were hammered at the Etihad. So look, if we can get a draw, I'll be very, very happy, but I think it's going to be a tough game. So prediction, maybe 3-0 for Man City, I think.
Great to get some insight there from one of the Bayer Leverkusen fans. Thank you for that. Now, as I mentioned just before, it's Pep's 100th Champions League game in charge of Manchester City. Only the 3rd manager to do it in English football, following Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger. So we're going to do a little quiz, gentlemen. Now, we can either work together or we can do... I like working together, so we'll just see how we go, OK? We're all about the team here at Manchester City. Question number 1 is this. Who scored the first Champions League goal for Manchester City under Pep? Oh. Good first question.
No idea off the top of my head. I could guess many players.
I'll give you the opposition. I don't think it helps much. Steaua Bucharest was the opponent. Spanish was his nationality.
David Silva.
It was indeed David
There we
Silva.
go. Take it.
There we go.
Amazing.
Okay, next up. It gets easier actually. Who is Manchester City's top Champions League goal scorer under Pep Guardiola?
Is it Haaland?
It's Haaland. Yeah, it's not a
I was there like Sergio for a second.
Yeah,
but it's Haaland,
31 goals.
Yeah.
Which also is quite frightening, really. Who did Manchester City face in their first semi-final under Pep? So I guess first semi-final.
I think I got it.
Oh, who got us there? Was it PSG?
PSG. Yeah, well remembered. I wouldn't have got that at all. Did we?
That was the yeah.
And did we win? And then
Morrison scored a brace away from home. Remember?
Yes, we did. And then obviously that was the Chelsea final.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, there's two answers to this. Manchester City's biggest win in the Champions League under Pep. What was the score?
We put 7 past Schalke, wasn't it?
Yeah. Can you remember the other one?
Sorry?
It's 2. We've done it twice.
We've done it. And who was the other one? Copenhagen? Not Copenhagen. Who was it? I've forgotten.
Do you want it? RB Leipzig.
Oh, Leipzig, Germans. Yeah, I knew that.
And who got the assist for Rodri in the Champions League final?
Bernardo, right? No, yeah, Bernardo. Yeah.
Bernardo Silva in behind to the touchline, pull back.
It was not back though, wasn't it? Like it was a deflection.
Yeah, and then Rodri just...
Kanji to Bernardo to...
Do we... Oh, actually, no, we're just going to do the tie-break question because it's quite... How many games has Pep won in the Champions League with City, if you was to throw a guess? So he's had 100 games.
I'm going to go for 68.
Can I go less?
Yeah.
I'll go less.
Okay, you're less than 68. What is the answer gallery? Andy Morrison, 62.
Yeah.
62.
I know he's got like a 72% win record overall, but I should have gone lower.
There, 62. Right, gents, we've got another special guest Pitchside. They come thick and fast here on Champions League nights. It is the world snooker champion, Zhao Chin Tong. He is alongside Alistair Mann with a translator. Who knew? He's a Manchester City fan.
Welcome back to Pitchside, where I'm joined by a world champion, and hence the reason there is a trophy. It's Xing Tong alongside me, who won the World Professional Snooker title back in May at the Crucible. I imagine those memories are still very fresh.
Yeah, it's amazing time, and I'm looking forward tonight for a long time. Yeah, hopefully we can have a good night.
Are you a Manchester City supporter?
Yes, when I was very young, I looked for the Manchester City for a long time because we know we have the one Chinese people in the team, so we like that.
So is this your first visit to the Etihad for a match?
Yes, this is my first time, so looking for a long time.
What kind of experience have you had already?
It feels very nice because this is my first time and really nice.
Which players are you excited to see?
Erling. Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned Sun Shihai used to play for the club. Is that where you first became aware of City?
Yeah. When I was young and I can saw the CCTV and there's many Chinese people we are watching the Manchester City. That's a good memory.
And tell me about the season. How has your snooker season gone for you?
Yes, this season is I'm very good and looking for the future and hopefully I can get better.
Tell us about what happened at the Crucible. Was that the best moments of your life?
Definitely is, because that's it's my favorite. It's my good memory, and the World Championship is very, very different for our snooker player.
And how was it received back in China when you won the title?
It's amazing, and everybody. When we are back to China, everybody knows me, and this I can feel the life has changed, and but they give me some pressure, but I try to learn from that and to get better.
It's an absolute pleasure to see you. Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing the trophy. A world title, a world champion, and a 147 signed shirt as well. You can't go wrong. Sounds like a good evening for me.
Great, Ali. And who knew? A Manchester City fan as well. Very, very cool. Also, I mean, all the love and admiration there for that brilliant interview.
You didn't need the translator in the end.
No,
He was
all
fantastic.
fantastic. Right, we've not got long to go, gents. Before we get some final thoughts from our guests, we've been running a poll throughout the show. We love when you get involved in it. We had a little QR code that you can scan. Keep your eye out for those as we do further Matchday Lives. We were asking you what was your favourite Champions League win under Pep Guardiola. You had to choose from the Barcelona game, Monaco, Napoli or Madrid. The results are on your screen now. 21% of you voted for the Barca game, 5% for Monaco, 1% for Napoli, but I think no surprise to us all, they're taking it with a huge landslide victory with 73% of the votes. The Madrid win in 2023, 4-0 at the Etihad Stadium, was our favourite, and I think is the favourite and will be for a very long time. That will be hard to top. Right, Andy Morrison, a few minutes before I hand over to our commentary team. Difficult game tonight. A whole load of changes. The boys are in the tunnel. What would you like to see from this starting 11 tonight?
Well, to dominate the ball to start with, you know, and just follow the patterns that we're familiar with. I don't expect to see that change. And just go and prove to the manager, you know, that you should be starting against Leeds. And that's what I would want to go into the game tonight. I want to sit in the change room after the game, look at the manager and say, I've done enough tonight. I expect to be in the team on Saturday, you know, and that if everybody has got that same mindset, then it'll be a difficult night for Leverkusen.
But Leverkusen are going to be a difficult opponent, and Steve, as we've spoke about, you know, they're starting to put a run of form together. They've got some players that can hurt us, and they will be coming needing a result looking at that Champions League table. Yeah, and good. I think this collection of players need that. They need that challenge. Leverkusen will see this as an opportunity, given the amount of key players, like world superstars, that aren't in this 11. You know, they would have planned for a certain thing and got something entirely different. But I like it, as I was saying earlier. And, you know, Andy said tactically he's covered it there. But I think Pep always talks about, you know, the players have to want it, and ultimately the success is down to the players, not down to the manager, because they're the ones on the pitch, and they all know how Manchester City play. It's ingrained in, you know, them on the training pitch every single day. It's not about that. They'll be able to pass the ball around and keep it. It's about them as individuals and who has the hunger to send that message ahead of the Leeds game and essentially put, you know, City one step closer to qualification. There's so many there who'll be thinking, we've done all right so far, but it hasn't been perfect. And if I play well, that could be my shirt against Leeds. And after that, who knows where it goes from there. Who knows where it goes from there, indeed. Stephen McInerney, thank you so much. Andy Morrison, always a pleasure as well. We've not done a show for a while together, Andy, as well, so it's been a real treat tonight. We're going to be back at half-time and at full-time. Get on the City app for your commentary, as always. Last thing, gents, don't think you've got away with it. Predictions, please. Stephen, I'll come to you first.
This is so hard. I'm going to say for City win. I think we're going to be quietly impressed with the changed team. 3-0 I'm going to go for.
3-0.
I'm confident.
Strong, Andy?
I don't feel as confident as 3-0. I'll go for my normal 3-1 victory.
Love that. Yeah. Gents, thank you so much. And thank you, as always, to you for watching. Right, enjoy this first half of football. Manchester City take on Bayer Leverkusen at the Etihad Stadium. The last thing for me to say is come on, City.
Thank you, Kel. Teams in the tunnel, light show taking place. Huge blue moon on the screens either side of the Etihad Stadium. All the ingredients in place for what should be a fascinating night of Champions League football. 2 home games left in the league phase for the Blues, and this is the first of the final one. Is the final game of the league phase for City against Galatasaray in late January. So the Blues need to make the most of this particular fixture. The atmosphere has been building, and the Leverkusen